And repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. With palms down. I don't know if anybody could hear it, but as soon as I said take refuge, y'all hear the birds chirping? Did you guys hear that? It was kind of funny. So we now have a bunch of birds outside that are taking refuge, which is kind of cool. So it was neat the last few days, just to get kind of whether people sent me messages directly or whether I saw it on social media, all the photos of the way people are sitting at home. And I saw pictures of people in these little homemade tents that they had made and they were sitting under it with kids. I saw pictures of people on couches with their kids. I saw pictures of just TVs, one with Travis on it and 3 candles glowing in front. I think they were making offerings to Travis. Not quite sure what was going on. But I always talk about whatever situation you're in, that's what we're in. And so how do we deal with it? This is a difficult time for everybody right now. Communities are torn apart, lives are threatened in so many ways. And yet we still wake up every day and we have to choose how we're going to spend our time. And one of the things I've found the most beneficial over the years is regardless of what challenges we're facing, if we cultivate a daily meditation practice, then life will be a little bit simpler and we'll be able to face these challenges a little more clearly. So, one of the cool things to see, as I started talking about, is when you have families at home now and you have the parents and you have the kids, that the parents are used to sitting at the time they're used to sitting at, and now the kids are joining them. And so it's been really neat to see so many kids starting to learn the meditation just over these last couple of weeks from doing this. So, we can always take positives and beautiful things out of every situation we're in. Otherwise, our mind is just going to be stuck in all the gloom, and that's just not a way to live our lives. So while we are locked inside for the most part as much as possible, still don't forget to take care of your mental and emotional health. That's extremely critical because if and when the time comes that we move past this real tragedy we're facing right now, we want to make sure that we are emotionally and mentally stable and strong to not only get through what we're dealing with right now, but for the future as well. So with that being said, we'll start with a meditation practice. For those who may be sitting for the first time or joining us for the first time, have never sat here, a couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. Right? You're not going to float away. You won't have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is it working? Is it not working? Are you doing it right? Are you doing it wrong? We're just going to sit, we're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds, right? Hopefully I'll get to continue to hear birds. Whatever these sounds are, this is life. Life is filled with sounds and chaos, and the practice of meditation is learning to get quiet and still within all of that. So as most of you are probably sitting at home right now, you weren't able to escape to the Dharma Bum Temple or wherever you were normally escaping to. So you get to sit within all of the chaos. So you'll hear the sounds, maybe you hear, the noise in the house, you'll hear phones, you'll hear TVs, whatever's going on, you'll hear stuff. And the practice is just to be with all of that as it is, not to try to force or control your external environment, just be with it. Most important, don't expect anything. We're just going to sit and breathe. Posture. If you are in a cushion, often helps sliding the front third, pushing the stomach forward, allows the back to straighten slightly. Shoulders are relaxed, hands can be on the knees or in the lap, whatever's comfortable for you. I'll guide us as we begin. We'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. Start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. And gently guide the attention, your focus, to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Letting go of expectations, letting go of judgment from the practice. Just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound. Each thought, each physical sensation. Yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. No one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. Once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. Most important with the practice of meditation is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, steady, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands across the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It's everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than anyone in this room who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means for all of us, regardless of where we come from or what we believe in or where we think we're going, Our whole life is filled with things that happen. We react. More stuff happens. More reactions. That's what we get. This practice is learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way we responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. So all we're working on is closing the gap where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. This practice is not easy. It's not necessarily fun, but it's free. Meditation, Buddhist practice is free. It's sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do all day long. And that's it. Once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone around us, and we work on changing our mind and our reaction to the world around us, life gets simpler. Makes it a little bit easier to deal with everything when we are clear. And I started talking tonight about just finding positives in every situation and really beginning to understand that there's an outlook you'll have on every moment of your life, and that's going to determine each moment of your life. One of my favorite Zen expressions is, to a worm in horseradish, the world is horseradish. So wherever you put your mind at all day long, that's going to reflect how you feel. And it doesn't mean to ignore what's going on or be oblivious or ignorant to what's happening. But there are levels to all of this that are healthy and unhealthy. The Buddha talks a lot about pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings and sensations, thoughts, mental formations. So become aware of what you're looking at all day long, what you're seeing all day long, what you're thinking all day long, what you're talking about all day long. Is it pleasant? Is it unpleasant? Or is it neutral? Because even at a time like this, there is so much time in your day to think pleasant thoughts, to do pleasant things, to say pleasant things, all day. Someone said to me earlier that they've never had this much free time in their life. And a lot of us are in that situation. Often the danger of that, I always joke and say, when I talk about the 4-hour day of silence, and I say you're stuck with yourself for 4 hours. People are afraid to be stuck with themselves for 4 hours. We're kind of stuck with ourselves or those who are next to us for 24 hours a day right now. And your mind is being challenged a lot. It really is. So find things that are pleasant, things to do that are pleasant, things to think about that are pleasant, things to talk about that are pleasant, things to communicate about social media-wise that are pleasant. Do some things that are joyful, that make you laugh, that make you smile. And you might feel better each day. So with that, I'd much prefer to just stop and, as always, open up to questions. Meditation, Buddhist practice. I wrote earlier, meditation, Dharma talk, followed by Q&R. And someone said, what is Q&R? I always say Q&A, or not always. The last 2 weeks, I think, I put Q&A, which is questions and answers. But as I always talk about, I don't like necessarily to give answers, just responses. As my first master said, when you ask questions, don't look for an answer, change your question. So with each thing that we hopefully begin to learn and explore about ourselves and life around us, we continue to change our questions. So questions, meditation, Buddhist practice. If you are joining for the first time with our millions of other YouTube followers around the globe, there's a little chat box, I think, on the right side of your screen somewhere. And you can just type your question there, and I'll respond.
Did the Buddha speak on boredom? They're worried about the more and more boredom in the coming days.
More and more boredom, as opposed to the boredom you're having right now. Well, if you're already bored and you're worried about more boredom, that's a problem. Did the Buddha speak on boredom? You know, I don't know that I've ever read the Boredom Sutra, to my knowledge, but it talked a lot about things that are, to me, coming to my mind that really address boredom. One of them is diligence and right effort. One of them is right livelihood, how we spend our days. And he talked about, what is it? I mean, even technically, the sutra is like sloth and torpor. Did I say those properly? Right? That's kind of sounds like boring stuff to me, yeah? I'm not a very technical Buddhist, but I've read enough over the years to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. I was just confirming with Travis, or Alex, he would know also. So we have the two guys in the room who actually probably would know that. Yeah, so sloth and torpor, I honestly don't know what either of those words mean, but I think they have something to do with doing a lot of nothing, yeah? You know, there's so much to do right now that boredom, I don't think has anything to do with the situation we're in. I think boredom has more to do with the fact that we're feeling incredibly, potentially, an incredible amount of what the Buddha called dukkha, which is suffering, discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction, because we're not able to do things that we're used to doing. And so what it's forcing us to do right now is to be creative with our time. And, you know, we live in a time right now where with technology, everything is at our fingertips. All the information in the world is right there. So many things to learn, so many people to communicate with. You know, often we spend our time doing things, say, prior to this current situation that we're in right now, where people are pretty much locked inside their homes, hopefully, where we spend so much time out there before what we're in right now, wasting time. And so one might say, well, I was never bored before because I got to go do a lot of things. Well, why can't you do a lot of things now? The reason for most people in this situation who might feel bored is that you're not doing what you want to do. So learning to be pleasant and comfortable with each situation as it arises is a practice. And life is not about, and what I've learned from Buddhist practice is that life is not about always getting to do what you want. It's about being okay with things as they are. And if you're in a situation right now where you're finding yourself really bored, there's a chance that you don't like how things are. And there's a wonderful opportunity to practice everything the Buddha was teaching, which is learning to be with things as they are. For me, I found Buddhist practice so incredibly important in my life, I'd say 17 years ago when I started, because it was the only thing that I couldn't win. I couldn't beat it. I couldn't become the best at it. I wasn't like, I'm going to be the best Buddhist in the world, you know? I'm a better Buddhist than you are. It was something that took an incredible amount of effort and work. And early on, it wasn't what I liked, the effort and the work, but I definitely wasn't bored with it. So use this time, if nothing else, to get to know yourself. You're probably not boring. Get to know yourself and see how that works.
Valerie asks, she says that she's still working full time and she doesn't work with people who meditate. How does she maintain her peace?
So you're working full time, you're working with people who don't meditate. How do you maintain your peace? The same way you would have 3 months ago, 9 months ago, 5 years ago. You continue to meditate, you continue to practice. Nobody takes away your peace. Often when questions, and that's a very common question phrased, a million different ways, but what it's really addressing is other people having an impact on your state of mind. And the way you phrase the question about other people taking away your peace, right? It's almost as if you're putting all this power, or you're giving all this power to other people who you may think have the ability to take your peace away. They didn't give you a peace of mind, and they don't take your peace of mind. I grew up watching way too many Friends episodes, but for those of you who've watched Friends and love Phoebe, there was the episode where she was talking about people stealing her wind, right? And that's what just popped into my head. Welcome to my crazy head. And so nobody can, and she was trying to teach Joey about stealing your wind. It's hysterical. The bored person, go Google that episode. It'll take 30 minutes of your time, actually 20 probably, but nobody can take your peace away from you. Nobody can steal your wind, whatever your wind is. You put it there. So continue to practice your own meditation. The world is filled with people who don't meditate. The world is filled with people who are mean and angry and disrespectful to others. And the world is also filled with people who are kind and generous and compassionate and who do meditate. So I don't know that the time, while you might be facing more challenges, as we all are right now, so it might be a little more difficult for you because the additional stress or pressure that we're all under. But it's not because of them. And in fact, they are and this expression is shared many ways throughout Buddhism, but they are your greatest teachers. The people that you're referring to who are challenging you and don't meditate and bothering you, that's where you learn. So thank them for being how they are, because they're giving you an opportunity to practice patience and kindness. Hopefully that's helpful. I mean, you can ask them to meditate, but that's never going to work, most likely.
How can you maintain focus on the pleasant when all that's being discussed, reported, and televised leads you astray?
Well, watch more cartoons. So I get it. How can you stay pleasant when all that's being reported, talked about, and discussed leads you astray? I discussed lots of things today and reported lots of things, or got reports about lots of beautiful things today. I saw so many pleasant people and things today. So can you. But if 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all you're focused on is the tragedy and the negative, then again, you are the worm in horseradish. It will not be the end of the world if you pull yourself out of that for a few hours a day and do things that are pleasant. Nobody is saying right now that you can't enjoy your life. Nobody's telling you right now that you can't laugh. Nobody is telling you right now that you can't smile. Maybe what you're looking at all day long is telling you that. So stop looking at that all day long. Find other things to look at that are pleasant. Puppies. Find an Instagram page with puppies and look at puppies. If you hate puppies, find kittens. If you don't like kittens, then find something else that makes you smile. But look at things that are pleasant. It's really not that difficult. You don't have to, and it's almost impossible to live in a bubble and isolate yourself from what's going on. But you also don't have to fixate on it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Choose where you put your attention. I hope that's helpful. Like I said, one more thing on that, and I know I said this again, but I want to stress it again. Things that make you laugh, things that are enjoyable, right? Whether, obviously if you're here right now, you have a computer, you're on a phone, whatever it is, you have the ability to pull up things that are funny, okay? So find things to watch that are funny also.
Marisa asked if you could talk about the 5 recollections, the 5 remembrances.
If you tell me what they are, I would gladly talk about them. Or I could just defer to Travis or Alex. Let's go, Travis or Alex. 5 recollections or 5 remembrances. This is one of those technical Theravada questions. I don't read all that stuff.
So it's about aging, illness, and death being unavoidable.
Okay.
That you'll grow separate from everything that you hold dear, or everything that you hold dear will grow separate from you.
Okay.
And then about karma.
Okay. And those are called the 5 remembrances. Look how smart I'm getting. Huh?
The first
3.
Illness and death are each their own.
That's one of the, those things are very common. We'd always talked about that. So the 4th one you're saying is the remembrances, and the 5th one is, or the separation, and the 5th one is what?
Karma.
Karma, okay. So I've never read the sutra that talks about them collectively like that, but the first 3, that's a very common Buddhist teaching, as are the others. I just hadn't read them that way. The Buddha said we are guaranteed to age. I always used to say grow old, but a lot of us don't grow old. We're guaranteed to age. We're guaranteed to get sick. We're guaranteed to die. None of us are escaping that. One of the most beautiful teachings I got many years ago was when I was taught about offering incense. And I was told to watch the incense stick when I do the meditation, because that incense stick is ash. It becomes ash. And that every moment that incense stick is lit, it is one moment closer to becoming ash. And I was taught to remind myself that that's me, that I am lit, I am alive. And every moment I'm alive, I am one moment closer to death. With or without the current situation that we're facing right now. I've been talking about this for 15 years. Every moment I'm alive, I'm one moment closer to death. I don't know if that moment is 5 minutes from now. I don't know if it's 50 years from now. I have no idea when that moment will come. But I am aging every moment, right? I will get sick. At some days I'm healthier than others. Some days I will get extremely sick, and that will lead at some point in time, potentially, unless it's from something else, to death. So aging will happen, sickness will happen, death will happen. For me, I've always looked at aging, sickness, and death, that teaching, as overcoming fear. Aging, sickness, and death are unavoidable. But what is avoidable is your fear of them. That's conditioned. We have conditioned ourselves to be afraid of aging, to be afraid of sickness, to be afraid of death, which is really interesting because we're all getting it. So the sooner we learn to just embrace that we will age, get sick, and die, and it's not completely out of our control. There's obviously things that we can do, but we can't control aging. We can't control death. It'll happen. We do have an impact on our health. We really can impact our health, and that also has an impact on how we die or when we die. But they're going to happen. So do your best to stay healthy, which can impact the sickness, which can impact the death. But why be afraid of things that the moment we're born are guaranteed going to happen, right? The 4th one being the separation. Separation as far as like being separate, like losing others, losing people, things like that. Yeah. So again, that's going to happen, right? I made this comment, I think 2 weeks ago when we started doing the recordings here. Let me rephrase that. When we started doing the recordings here with nobody here, right? That's when, at the first moment, I sat down and I realized that there's physically nobody here. I mean, there's a couple of us here, but in my mind and in my heart, you're all here. Like I'm staring, I told Travis the other day, I'm staring at this little tripod with a little camera thing on it. And, anyone who's around my age or loves old 80s movies remembers the movie Short Circuit. I literally pulled up like on my phone and I showed Travis the image. You can all Google this right now. Short Circuit, and just put on images. And it's like the little, machine dude, robot dude. And I feel like I'm staring at that right now. I'm looking at the dude from Short Circuit. But I'm also combining, again, lots of movies, lots of TV, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where the one dude like jumps in and he becomes this little tiny dude and he goes into a million little pieces across the screen. So when I stare at this little screen, it's like there's thousands of you in there right now. But none of you are physically here. So the question was around, I think, compassion. How can you practice compassion when you can't like hug people or contact people? And I responded without getting too far into it that compassion has nothing to do with physical contact. Being separate from people, to me, my understanding of these teachings has nothing to do with physically being with them, because they live truly in your mind and in your heart. And what's called a laya vijnana storehouse consciousness, that everything is a state of mind. There's a school of Buddhism called Yogacara. It's a mind-only school. And it goes beyond physical form. So I don't feel I'm separate from any of you in some regards, because you were never even here. It was all just my perception of it. Now I get it on a very conventional level. We are separated from people. We're separated from loved ones, from family, from friends. We can't see them. We can't visit them. We can't jump on a train or a bus or a plane and go see them. I mean, you can, but it's really not smart right now to do that. So in that regards, we're separate from them. But when we see them and we physically hug them and talk to them, it moves our heart and it moves our mind. So find ways to move your heart and move your mind now around these people. Again, get creative. Think of ways to connect with people. Separation and karma, the last one, which I talk about a lot. The word karma means action. And I know, Marisa, you've heard me talk about this, but just for anyone else, the word karma is action. And it's not what goes around comes around. It's what we give. It's not what we get. So often we think if I do good, good will happen. If I do bad, bad will happen. But it doesn't work that way. I could get up, I could punch Travis, and he could punch me back or not, right? What he does is up to him. He may run off there and get into the car and drive off and run a red light and get a ticket, right? Because he's crazy like that. Well, me punching him led to him storming off, letting him to get a ticket. I'm karmically responsible for that. My actions led him to take his actions. So we're very mindful of our karma. We become very aware. The Buddha said we generate karma 3 ways: body, speech, and mind. What we think, what we say, and what we do. So everything we think, everything we say, and everything we do has an impact. So I guess if you tie all these things together, now that I actually know what the 5 together are: aging, sickness, and death, separation, and karma, that's our life. That's our entire life, my friends. We generate karma all day long while we age, while we get sick, while we die. And that causes separation physically. But consciously, never. Now I'll actually read what the Buddha said about it and see if I'm remotely close. How'd I do? Not bad?
Awesome.
Theravada experts in the room here, or people who like to read, I should say, also.
So Karen asked if you have any suggestion with how to help others in need during this time.
Yeah, there's been a lot of resources and information shared. I know our Dharma Bum Temple Sangha Facebook group, there's been some resources shared up there right now. I'm not the resource person. I do a lot all day long. I stay busy. My first teacher said, Jeff, busy is the best nutrition. And so I continuously, even now, stay busy doing things that I find productive and successful in keeping my mind healthy, right? That to me is what success means, is if my mind is healthy and my heart is healthy, then I am being successful in living out my life. So I spend a lot of time on that. And a lot of that, quite frankly, has to do with continuing to cultivate and build community and Sangha and operating and running a Dharma Bum temple when people can't physically come here. And so making resources available and really building things that are preparing the temple for the future is where a lot of my time is spent, because we have so many people that rely on this space. My time has not been spent on figuring out how to provide resources outside of here related to the current situation that we're in. But there are a lot of people who have that information. That's just not me. What I can tell you is that someone asked a question the other day, Saturday morning, about, they felt bad. They went to Costco very early. They hoarded a bunch of stuff and they had it. And they were feeling bad about it. And I said, go give it away. Some of it. Find a way that's healthy and safe to give away some of what you have. So there's so many ways to help people right now that don't have to be, I'm not a medical professional. I can say the same basic understandings that a lot of people can say, but I don't know what's going to happen if I walked outside right now, nor do I know what's going to happen with anything that's going on. I know the basic stuff. And there's a lot of ways, even within the situation you're in now, that you can help people. Give someone a smile, send them a text message, a phone call, reach out to someone you love that you haven't talked to in 10 years. There's so many things that you can do to help people that don't necessarily just mean saving someone's life. And I think if we're all focused on saving people's lives, we're probably focused on things that we don't quite understand. And this is more just personal Jeff stuff. If we focus on keeping people's morale and spirit calm and peaceful and happy and pleasant, I think things will work out better. Yeah. Any other questions? We'll do one more question. Meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. All right, we good? We're good?
Yeah.
All right, so we will join palms and close on that. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most at this time. So a few quick announcements. Thanks all for being here. I'll touch on schedule in a minute as well because we've added some things. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up this temple 14 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice, meditation to local folks. Those of us who lead, we're not nuns, we're not monks, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers, we're not looking for students, we're just practitioners. We do our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that hopefully make sense to those of you who show up. So thanks for showing up. Our schedule currently is, I'll try to walk through it pretty quickly here, but our recovery Sangha, I'll touch on that first. Our recovery Sangha, we are now, to my knowledge, yes, we're doing everything we were doing before. So actually one of the most beautiful things, I texted Kate earlier, and thank you, Kate. She's handling a lot of the technology on the Zoom side of things. So our recovery Sangha is meeting right now, Tuesday night at 7. Wednesday night is the 12-step Zen, as usual. Thursday night is the recovery book study. And Sunday morning, 10 a.m. is the recovery Sangha as well. That always met upstairs, and the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday met downstairs. All 4 of those are up and live via Zoom. If you go onto the Dharma Bum Temple schedule, or on the website and look on the schedule, pull it up by the day, click on the actual event, and in there will be the directions. It'll say Recovery Sangha via Zoom or Metta Meditation via YouTube. So it'll tell you right there where it's being streamed and then how to actually get to it in the on the website in the calendar itself. So Recovery Sangha Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights at 7 and Sunday morning at 10. The other classes tonight, Tuesday, 7 p.m. I do Intro to Buddhism and Meditation. Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Alex will be doing the Metta Loving Kindness practice. Thursday night, Travis will continue with the Dharma Bum Basics. We are now, also Wednesday night for any of the college kids, Delta Beta Tau is doing the Wednesday night. It was at 8:30. I think they might have moved it earlier. I'll confirm because of East Coast, time zone stuff. A lot of the students going back to the East Coast. Our Dharma Bum Teens is Sunday at noon. That is happening still on Zoom right now, also on the website schedule. And the Family Sangha begins this Saturday, so that's a new one. I don't know that Josh and Jess and Lisa have fully figured out how it's going to work, but they are they're brave enough to give it a go. So that'll continue the 2nd and 4th Saturday of the month, 9 a.m. to 10:30, and that'll also be on Zoom, and that's also up on the website as well on the calendar. So I think that's it right now. Anything else comes up, just check the Facebook group or the website calendar, and we'll keep you posted. So for me, the greatest teaching is think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. So no matter what the situation is like, it's always possible to do that. So thanks for being here. Have a good evening and be safe.